Well, guys, if you are ready, can we start?
Yes.
Well, first of all, thanks for this conversation. It's a pleasure for me to be with you guys. And as I was telling off the air, Mexico has a very good, not also memories, but a very loyal audience for INXS, for their music and for the essence that you guys impregnate for the people here in this country. How do you feel about being these bands that open roads to the music as we know it right now?
It was a great honor. Really important. Yeah, and it was really important to us. I mean, we were I think the first band to play in Mexico City since the Doors, back in about '84. Apparently, after the Doors played there in the '60s, they banned international acts from coming in. So we went there really early, and prior to that too, we had played in Argentina in '84. And we'd been the first international act ever to play in Argentina. So we loved South America, and after those two shows, we started to tour there quite regularly all through South and Central America.
Yeah, but Mexico City was just an eye opener. We had never been there before, and it's such a big city and so vibrant and colorful, and everything about it was fantastic and so different from Australia. But in some ways, sort of the countryside was quite similar. And, so to have the people of Mexico City singing our songs and knowing the words, and as Kirk said before, singing my guitar riffs and things like that, it was like we felt like we belonged there straight away.
I remember that, and I remember it was tough because the government here in Mexico was really denying all the permissions and all the ways to have concerts in Mexico, and you open the doors, you open again the gates to do that, and that was amazing.
Yeah. Like it was important to us. We wanted to travel the whole world and perform everywhere we could. So it was really exciting. I remember being on stage, and all I could think of was this is kind of like the Beatlemania, because it was nuts. The crowd were just so excited and so into it, which, as a band performing, when the audience is just so full of energy, it comes to you and you give back that energy. It's just like cyclic energy exchange between the audience and the band. It was fantastic.
You were expecting that the audience here in Mexico know your songs, that they will choir with you all the songs that you came with all your repertoire here to Mexico?
No, we weren't. We didn't know that they would know that. We were surprised.
Didn't know what to expect. Yeah.
No. So I mean, we thought there would be people in the audience, obviously, that knew our music and that would because that's why they're there. But we didn't know to that extent. And so when the audience was singing to us, and it was so loud that we could barely hear ourselves, well, that was a surprise.
I would imagine that this kind of sensation, it's in repetition for you in every and each country, because you conquered the world between the 80s and the 90s and the 21st century. You make your music so affordable for the people and to be part of their lives, that maybe could be routinary, or maybe would be as an amazing thing every time that you conquer one territory.
Yeah, well, it was sort of territory by territory. I mean, as I said, we came to Mexico City, and Argentina in '84, '85, and we still weren't super big even in Australia then. And we'd already done a bunch of tours in North America, and so it was very gradual for us. It wasn't really until the Kick album and the X album that everything aligned, and at that point, wherever we played was kind of like that feeling we had when we first went to Mexico City.
I would imagine that having this relation with the fans is like having a love story, like a romance, that never ends.
Yeah.
Like the people will always be in love with your music, with your songs, but also with the band, and they are always willing to see you again. How is each time that you came to Mexico or other countries in the world, this kind of relation with the fans?
Well, it grows just like we do. You know, the thing is, we started off in America opening for bands and opening for other bands, and you know, basically we had already played so many concerts ourselves and live shows. We probably played more gigs than the bands we were opening for. So you know, our kind of intention was, and it usually worked, we were there to blow them off stage, you know. But right from the word go, because of MTV, we were already famous, because MTV was this new thing when we started touring, and we were MTV darlings. You know, they loved the One Thing video, and so people knew us when we came to town, and this was all a surprise to us. But our audiences grew and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and pretty, as you said before, you know, pretty much it's like a love affair you have with the audience. You know, there are people crying and there are people laughing. It's all sorts of
people
emotion.
People
dancing, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And in Australia, people fighting. You know, hello, Lane.
My wife just walked up the stairs there. Yeah.
Pardon to interrupt you. In Australia, people fighting. How was that?
Well, we used to stop playing and we'd say, hey, you guys, cut that out. You take it outside. You know, it's just cut. You know, or we'll come down there and sort you out.
This was in the pubs though, like in the very early days, and pubs. You know, you obviously hotel pubs. Everyone's drinking, it's hot, it's really packed, you know, maybe 1,000 people into a venue that could hold 500 back then, you know. Yeah. And so I think, you know, there's lots of people jumping around and doing stuff and probably pissed someone off. And so they start having a punch up, and yeah, it was, you know, brawl.
Wild.
It was wild. And you know, some of the venues back in those early days in Australia, the pubs, there was so many people crammed in that the ceiling condensation would form on the ceiling, and it would almost rain with condensation because of the hot and sweaty, and you know, it was that was a trip as well. That was amazing period of our career.
Let's stay for a moment in that period. When did you realize that you were famous, that you are having success there in Australia?
Probably by the Listen Like Thieves album, I guess, really, the one before the Kick tour, or before the Kick album. I think that was where, you know, we started doing much bigger venues and like, you know, small arenas and all that sort of thing. But, you know, when you're in it, when you're sort of gauging where you're at, there's still so much more to do. You know, we were starting to get, you know, very famous in Australia and starting to get very famous in North America at that point. But Europe, we still, you know, had a lot of work to do. So I think, you know, I don't think we ever really stopped either to sort of think about, gee, we're famous, you know. We just kept getting on with it and moving along and just touring and touring. I mean, that first 10 years of our career was pretty much non-stop. We didn't take a proper break until after the whole Kick thing. So, you know, it was relentless. And yeah, well, even after X, yeah. So you know, it as I said before, it was a very gradual rise for us. We certainly weren't an overnight sensation. But in saying that, you know, when we went to Central and South America, we were headlining straight off the bat there. We weren't opening for other bands.
I always think that for the music band like yours, there's always this willingness to be famous, not for being famous but for explaining their ideas, that their art could be more recognizable for the people, and to preserve and transcend the first impact how was for you? Because I would admire your tenacity and your endurance, because it's like 50 years since you were formed, and the people are singing and they are part of your idea, of your art.
Yes, well, for us, it was all about the music, really, and fortunately, the six guys in INXS all kind of we have similar tastes but different tastes, and so we, you know, even with on one record, we didn't make a record of all the same music. We, you know, we would have different kinds of almost genres within the one album. And so that kept things really interesting for us. And so our live set could take you from, you know, sort of hard rock to soft ballads to funky dancing music, you know. And it was a hybrid of music. And that kept it, you know, really interesting for us. And I think our audience too. You know, it was a kind of thing too where we never got too sick of playing the same songs, because, you know, we would rotate songs, you know, and it was just a great time to be in a rock band, I think, when we were.
I would imagine that in these books you are making also a revision about the more difficult times for a rock band to share with the audience, and for the emerging bands that would take you like an example. But if I have to ask you, what was the toughest time for INXS, I would imagine that you both have different answers.
Yeah, well, look, you know, clearly the toughest time was, you know, Michael passing away. I think that obviously it was the lowest of the low points. You know, so but you know, as far as sort of our career goes, you know, our music and record sales and things like that, you know, it was kind of tough, that sort of 3-4 years before Michael passed away as well. You know, I think music changed. The whole, you know, that whole grunge thing happened out of Seattle and America in sort of the early to mid 90s, and for a little while there, I think we sort of struggled to see how we fit in with what was going on musically. So you know. I think that was sort of that was sort of a tough time, that era, around our sort of you know, 8th and 9th album. But you know, we were always positive, and you know, Tim here, he was Mr. Positive. You know, whenever anyone was a little bit down within, you know, the band, I mean, we'd all lift each other up all the time. But Tim especially was always very positive, and almost sort of mentored, you know, a couple of the guys that were often sort of like, oh, should we keep doing it or whatever. Tim would sort of talk them out of it, you know, or into continuing on. So it was good like that, because we had 6 people in the band and 3 brothers as well. You know, we were a family, and I think there was enough of us to go around to kind of keep things going and keep things positive, and you know, we were very fortunate that way.
I remember that Saturday when the Michael Hutchence died, but also I remember the first time I listened to the new music, like Afterglow and other songs that you were making. So I would imagine that for you, that was also a time to grieve, but also a time to reinvent. It is easy, like a band of you, like yours, to reinvent themselves?
Yeah, look, it was an interesting, you know, the life after Michael was, you know, was a really interesting time for us. And at first we thought, well, there's no point in continuing. But then, you know, we got lifted up by our peers and a few singers here in Australia. You know, said, come on, guys, you know, we want to do this gig and want you to play. And gradually we sort of came out of it, and of course we, you know, we always missed Michael, and then, you know, we were thrust into sort of the comparisons, you know, people sort of going, well, you know, it's INXS, but it's not Michael in INXS. So I don't know, you know. So it was a kind of weird time. But by the time we did that album, the Switch album, you know, I think the band was feeling really positive, and it was a really sort of out there thing to do, the Rockstar INXS TV show, to find a new singer. And you know, I think we embraced it, and the Switch album is actually one of my favorite albums of INXS. You know, it had some really great songs on it, and the way we recorded it was really different for us. We did the whole album in about 3 weeks, and we had 3 separate studios within the complex, all running at the same time and all playing on different tracks at the same time. And yeah, it was a really interesting and uplifting time. And then, you know, to go back out and tour and you know, play arenas again around the world, I don't think we ever believed that was going to happen.
I have to say that the time it has changed a lot in the first years of the band, or where you came to Mexico. It was quite difficult to have this kind of conversation. Right now, I have the possibility to speak with you and not going to Australia, or you coming to Mexico, and also the music is traveling in a different way. You were telling me that you are like the part of the MTV generation, and now it's time of the streaming generation. But the music that that you made and the one you're making is such a long for the people. I was listening that you broke a new record, and more people and new generations are willing to know you and to know your music.
Yes, yeah. See, we got presented with an award for achieving 4 billion
wow.
streams, which was humbling and amazing. And that's, you know, that doesn't count all the number of plays before they were streams. So that's you know, it's just it's mind-boggling when you think about it. And as I said, it's humbling. But you know, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's all that hard work of us touring, you know, and being there and coming to places like Mexico and everywhere we went, we you know, we felt like we were there we spent time with people from, you know, we wouldn't just not meet people. We'd have big backstage, you know, parties and meet the band, and we tried to be as friendly as we could because that's the kind of people we are. And I think all that stuff is good karma, you know.
You are a very good karma band. I can say that. I know that you have your tragedies and very hard, but also you have your enormous success with Michael and after Michael, and that's quite difficult for a band with such a great singer.
Yes, very difficult.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as I said before, you know, initially after Michael passed away, you know, I think we thought, well, that's it, it's all over. You know, what do we do now? So, you know, it's quite amazing that we managed to reinvent ourselves and do some risky things. You know, you've got to take risks, like the Rockstar INXS show, and so, you know, I think at the end of the day,
we've always taken risks.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we just love playing music together, and I think we felt, you know, some time after Michael died, well, you know, we still have the right to do that.
And in fact, playing music that we had written with Michael and that Michael sung with us, to us kept him alive with us. So, you know, every time we performed a song that Michael wrote with us and that we performed with him after Michael had passed, we felt like he was still with us.
And I think that you can deny the past, but you have to think about the future. How do you see the future? How do you see yourselves, and how do you see INXS for the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, well, I don't look at this point. There's no plans to record anything or to perform live. So you know, it's things like the book we just brought out, the Calling All Nations book, which is the fan story, which is you know, such a fantastic book. I got so emotional when I read through it and read all the stories from fans, just how much we meant to them, and that sort of thing was extraordinary. But there's a lot of projects like that in the work. We're about to release the All Juiced Up 2, which is a series of 9 vinyl records with remixes of our songs. We always right from the early days started dabbling in club mixes and that sort of thing, and got to work with certainly legends of the time, remixes like David Morales and Youth and Paul Oakenfold and Cold Cut, Basement Jaxx and Francis Kevorkian and et cetera, Pete Lorimer. And that was a really amazing thing. That was all, through the 80s and into the 90s. And on Switch, we did some remixes as well. But so there's these sorts of things that we can keep on kind of like adding, to our sort of resume in the future. And we do have a couple of sort of bigger projects that we can't talk about yet, but some exciting things that hopefully will come together in the next couple of years. But all of it's not us performing or anything. So it's I don't know.
We can't say we won't though. Sorry.
Yeah, we can't say we won't. I don't know. I mean, we all just got together this week. Yeah, we all just got together this week. Gary, who lives in LA, the bass player, he flew out, and we just spent a week together, doing some media and all that sort of thing. And it was really good, really great to all be together again. So we'll see, but there's lots of things in the background in the works.
And guys, my time has run out. I have a last question. I'm very voyeuristic, Tim, and you have a robot, or what do you have back of you? Like a robot or some kind of a ward in something like that?
Oh, yes, the robot. Yes, I like robots.
That little robot over there, yeah.
I have lots of robots in my house.
And lots of mics.
Yes, lots of mics. Yeah. Well, this is actually my little recording studio in my back garden. Because I get lonely, so I have robots to keep me company. And also they dance, dancing
like with artificial intelligence, or you execute there is it.
all kinds of dancing. This is one of my favorites. This guy.
It's VV8.
Yeah, that's him. And he actually is very cute. He walks around the studio and makes all of cute little noises and stuff like that. But I won't show you now.
I have the same one in my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's in the living room, but I have it. Yeah.
No way. That's great.
Awesome.
Fellow robot dude.
Something like that. Well, guys, I have to end this conversation, but it was amazing to be with you today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
Hasta luego.
Hello to all of Mexico.
Goodbye.
Ciao.
Goodbye.